Okay, welcome to Rambam, folks. We're learning the laws of Shabbos. We did some very heavy-duty stuff, challenging stuff. Today's a very long Rambam. But let's get right into it. This is actually maybe more essential than some of the things we learned before, although it's all Torah and therefore it's all God's will and it's all essential, but more fundamental, I guess. Okay. Regarding Shabbos, the Torah states, right? On the seventh day, you shall cease activity. This implies ceasing even performance of certain activities that are not included in the categories of forbidden labors. Right? There's 39 forbidden labors. Those forbidden labors are based on what was done in the tabernacle, in the Mishkan, in making the various things that were necessary for the service and of its building.
Chapter 21.
Chapter 21, yes. The Torah left the definition of the scope of the commandment to the sages who forbid many activities as a shvus. Some activities are forbidden because they resemble forbidden labors, while other labors are forbidden unless they lead one to commit a forbidden labor. These activities include the following. So we have done we have done the biblical law till now. We've been focused on the biblical law, right? Even though sometimes we gave a rabbinic law, but based on the biblical law. Now, right? So from this word tishbois, you shall cease activity. So you shall cease even in the activities that are not just clearly defined as forbidden labors. And that's what our sages, right, as the sages have been given by the Torah itself, right, that mandate. Those activities are called a shvus. Also means to rest, but it's a rabbinic law. So some of them is because they're similar to the biblical law, and some of them is because it may bring you to transgress the biblical law. Okay, a person who levels crevices in the ground is liable to performing the forbidden labor of plowing. For this reason, it is forbidden to defecate in the field that is lying fallow, lest one comes to level crevices. So, to do that, that's rabbinic. A person who empties a storeroom of its contents on the Shabbos because he needs a storeroom for the sake of a mitzvah to house guests or to use as a study hall should not empty the storeroom entirely, lest he become to level crevices within. Because what happens when you see, we're doing in our kitchen the floor. So when you empty everything, that's what we did. We emptied everything from the kitchen here at Chabad. And now you see everything, right? Because you see everything, so you're more precise on everything that it should be leveled. And that, right, more precise. If you had some things in there, then you wouldn't be so precise because, it's covering up and it's, you don't have the same look at it. So that's what it's saying over here. You're doing a mitzvah to have guests over at your home, right? That's a mitzvah. But if you empty and you need to place them, and this is on Shabbos, by the way. Obviously, before Shabbos is not an issue. We're talking about on Shabbos, right? Unexpected guests came. You need to put them up. And the only place you have is a storeroom. So you're taking out stuff from the storeroom. Remember, back in the day, the floor was made out of earth. So now if you're going to take it all, you're going to see the cracks and crevices. You're going to see, and so on. You might want to, level it off to make it, not so bumpy. You're having guests there, da da da. So therefore, no, don't take everything out. because maybe you might come to level the crevices, right? That's all rabbinic. A person has mud on his feet may clean it off on a wall or on a beam, but not on the ground. Let's say level crevices, right? Because remember, that's part of plowing, right? Plowing is making crevices or filling it with, right? A person should not spit on the ground and wipe it with his feet, lest he create crevices be leveled. If it is, however, permitted to step on, it is, however, permitted to step on spittle while he is lying on the ground, as lying with the spittle that's lying on the ground as one walks, without having any specific intent. That you could do. Halacha 3, it is forbidden for women who often play with nuts, almonds, or the like, back in the day, right? Pretty nutty thing to do, but we play them on Shabbos, lest they be motivated to level crevices. Why? Because they're playing. What are you playing? My kids did this, we gave them nuts on Pesach, and they used to go to synagogue, and they used to play like we do with alleys, with alleys, what they called? Marbles. Yeah, right? Alleys, marbles, right? Remember? Right? So like you play that and you try to hit and so on. So you need a level floor for that. So that's what they did with the nuts, right? So now what you're going to do is play with it and the floor is not level. You're going to be motivated to level, so don't play with it. It is forbidden to sweep the ground lest one level crevices, unless the floor is paved with stone. Oh, okay, which was unusual back in the day. Right? Today, it's not a problem to sweep a floor on Shabbos, unless you're in a third world country, right? One may, however, sprinkle water on the ground. There is no suspicion the person will level crevices, since this is not its intent, right? The reason why you're putting water on the ground, not to make something grow, obviously, it's in your home, so nothing's going to grow, right? Why is it? Because of dust. You don't want the dust to rise, the dirt from the floor, right, is going to rise. So you put water there so it won't rise. So that's not a suspicion of crevices at all. So that's okay. One may not apply oil to the floor, even if it is paved, nor may one blow dust from the floor, nor may one wash it. So that you can't do. This applies on a holiday and surely on Shabbos. These acts are forbidden unless a person follow his usual weekday pattern and thus come to level crevices in the place in which are not paved. So it seems like people had paved and non-paved floors, right? And what's going to happen over here? Putting oil on the floor, right? Or blowing off the dust or washing the floor. You might think, well, he's just washing the floor. You want to keep the dust out. When you're just putting water down, so you're not doing anything but putting water down, so there's nothing you're going to do come to level the floor, right? The crevices. But when you are actually using a mop or something like that, I don't know, whatever it is that you use to wash the floor, right? Back in the day, what's it called in Israel? They use well, there's a term for it. Anyways, and they use a lot of water, and then okay. Anyways, there you're actually using something. So, and you may come then to follow your weekday pattern. Your weekday pattern is when you find crevices in the floor, you level them. So you might do that here too. So therefore, you're not allowed to do it, not just on Shabbos, but even on holidays. When a courtyard has become soiled in a rainy season, one may bring straw and spread it over the courtyard, right? Because you're not doing anything that's going to level, right? You're just putting straw out. When a person spreads straw, you should not spread it with a basket or with a container, but rather with the underside of the container so that he will not follow his usual day pattern and come to level crevices. Aha. So this activity exactly was not going to level crevices. But if you're going to do it without a recognition that you're going to do it differently, so it's a reminder that it's not a weekday, then putting the straw maybe then will lead you to do another activity that will be to level the crevices. That activity will not be that. That's why it's okay to do it, right? Well, as opposed to the mopping or something like that, or whatever it is, spongia. That's what it's called, spongia in Israel. Yeah. Okay. Number 5, a person who waters seeds that have been planted is liable for performing a derivative of the forbidden labor of sowing. Therefore, okay, that we know, that's biblical, right? Can't put seeds in the ground. Therefore, it's forbidden to draw water from a cistern using a pulley, lest one draw water for one's gardens and one's ruin. So, what do you do during the weekday? You draw water for your drinking purposes, but at the same time, you will often draw water for your garden. So that same act, right, of drawing from with a pulley from a cistern on Shabbos may bring you to also water the garden. Again, that's only a rabbinic prohibition, lest you come to transgress a biblical law. So on this basis, if the cistern was with a pulley is located in one's courtyard, it's permitted to use the pulley to draw water.
Yeah, but what if the garden's in the courtyard?
1 second. The location of the cistern is clear because of the waters. Ah, okay. Okay. So if it's in the courtyard, it means that that water is only meant for drinking purposes. Right? It's not meant uh, for the garden, right? Because you don't have a garden in the courtyard, right? You don't have a garden there. So it means it's only for drinking. It means you have another cistern out in the field, right? That is used for the field. So then that's not a problem because that's not a weekday activity that you're going to go and use it for the garden because you have a different cistern over there, right? But if you were taking not from the courtyard, but from the one that's in the field, right? Or maybe that's the only one you have. Let's say it's the only one you have, right? Then from the field, you use it for the home and for the field. Therefore, don't take it from the field. That cistern, right? Because you may come accidentally and water this your garden, and that would be like part of sowing. Sowing with an O, not an E. Because sowing with an E is a different prohibition, right? Okay, we're good so far. Yeah, we're following. All right, amazing. I don't see thumbs up from New York. Just saw from down south. It's a cloudy day in New York, maybe. All right. Person who detaches produce or wood is liable for performing a derivative of this forbidden labor of reaping. Right, reaping is like when you're harvesting the food, the produce, right? So when you detach, right, that's reaping. Accordingly, it's forbidden to remove honey from a beehive on Shabbos because this resembles detached produce. Right. It's not going to bring you to reaping, right? Remember, we have two general principles over here that might bring you to a biblical prohibition, so therefore the rabbis prohibit it, and that's the things that we discussed previously. But here it resembles a biblical prohibition. So it's not going to bring you to the prohibition, right? It's important over here to make that distinction over here. It's not like you're going to detach the honey, remove the honey from the beehive, right? So now what I'm going to go now and go take my produce and now reap it and take it off the take the apples off the apple tree? No. One's got nothing to do with the other. But because it resembles sufficient, right? One may not, that's one. One may not climb a tree, which includes both a fresh tree and one that's dried out, meaning without produce. Right. Here it's because you might accidentally detach the apple from the tree. And so now that is even a tree that doesn't have any fruit. Because if you go on one, you're not going to make a distinction between one tree and another tree so quickly, right? So if I can go on a regular tree without fruit, then I might go on a tree with fruit and accidentally detach it. We may not suspend articles from a tree, nor may we lean on a tree even. We may not climb a tree before the commencement of Shabbos with the intent of remaining there the entire Shabbos. Yeah, in your, what's it called? Your tree house, right? We may not use any plant that is attached to the ground. This is a decree, lest one detach the produce. Okay, I'd love to continue, but can't. All right, folks.